Hi there, I'm Phil, and welcome to another of my story analysis videos, where I take a deep dive into a film in terms of its story structure, character arcs, and themes. Today, we're looking at Blade Runner. Make sure you've seen the film, spoilers ahead. The screenplay was written by Hampton Fancher, from the novella by Philip K. Dick, with later drafts of the screenplay by David Webb Peoples, who I understand was mostly working during production, rewriting as they went. Philip K. Dick, of course, is famous for very philosophical, thoughtful science fiction.
I may be talking about something that does not exist. Therefore, I'm free to say everything or nothing.
The novella this was based on was called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Blade Runner was originally released in 1982, directed by Ridley Scott, and starring Harrison Ford. But of course, there are several versions of this film. There's 4, really, or 3 when it comes right down to it. So the original release of this film from 1982 is called the theatrical version, which is where, famously, Ridley Scott lost control, briefly, of the post-production, and the producers took over, and they imposed, although Ridley Scott apparently agreed with initially, adding a voiceover.
I mean, they've said it looks amazing, but what the hell's going on? And that's when all the panic really set in. And the decision was that we needed a clarification, we needed a voiceover.
They also notoriously added a new ending to the film to change its outcome and to make it more palatable to audiences. There was a later screening of a work print of the film, which did not include this voiceover or this alternate ending, and seemed a lot closer to the director's original vision. This prompted a director's cut in 1992, which was released on DVD. Unfortunately, it was not really a full director's cut. Ridley Scott apparently had little to do with it, although it was largely based on his original vision, and he never got to finish it quite the way he wanted. But it was much closer to that original vision that Ridley Scott had. The definitive version these days, and the one I recommend watching if you haven't already, is what's known as the Ultimate Edition or the Final Cut version, released in 2007 on DVD and Blu-ray. This is the one where Ridley Scott himself did, in fact, oversee a recut and a remastering of the film.
I think I'm glad we got the voiceover off. I'm glad we got the ending off. The ending didn't make any sense at all. And the ending, the way we have it right now, is fine. I wish I'd had a bit more action early on. Just pure action, just to raise the blood. But obviously people don't need that now because they get the film.
So if you ended up watching a version that has the voiceover, you watched the wrong version. After watching this video, go check out the 2007 Final Cut version then.
I always thought of it as more of an art film. It was like an art, a grandiose art film.
The film is, of course, famous for the cinematography, for the look of it, for the creation, essentially, in cinema of cyberpunk. It came before Neuromancer, the novel even, and it kind of redefined what a serious science fiction film could be. The other main one that did that, of course, was 2001: A Space Odyssey. And this is pre-CGI, of course, so there's not many visual effects shots in the film, and those that are there are primarily model work and optical compositing, with a motion-controlled camera some of the time.
Philip Dick was reasonably unhappy. Katie Haber gave me a call and said, put together the best of the best. The 10 minutes of optical takes ran. The lights came up. Philip turned around, looked me right in the eyes, and he says, how is this possible? I don't understand this. He says, this feels exactly like what I had in my head when I was writing it. How does this happen?
And the film didn't do particularly well on release because it was unfortunately released at the same time as John Carpenter's The Thing and Steven Spielberg's E.T. E.T. is the one that everyone went to see. This, Blade Runner, and John Carpenter's Thing, unfortunately kind of got left a bit in the dust at the time. Both films have found renewed life in later years as cult classics. But let's look at the story. The inciting incident for the film is pretty straightforward. We open with the character of Leon, played by Breon James, being interrogated. This is the Voight-Kampff test that they conduct on replicants, because it's impossible to tell them apart from a real human otherwise.
I'm kind of nervous when I take tests.
Just please don't move.
This interview ends, of course, with the death of the interviewer by Leon. We then meet our protagonist, Deckard, played by Harrison Ford,
He say you Blade Runner.
Tell him I'm eating.
And he's dragged along by Edward James Olmos's character to the police station, where he's given a job as a Blade Runner to track down these 4 rogue replicants.
I need you, Dex. This is a bad one. The worst yet. I need the old Blade Runner. I need your magic.
That's our inciting incident for the A-plot. The rest of the film, in terms of A-plot, becomes a straightforward detective film noir, admittedly set in a dystopian future. But this draws very heavily on the classic film noirs from the 1930s and 40s. For one thing, it's always set at night, and it's always raining. Our first act's turning point basically comes when Deckard goes to talk to Tyrell, the creator of the Nexus 6 line of replicants. And here, he meets Rachel. This becomes the beginning of our love story. This is essentially the inciting incident of the B-plot.
Have you ever retired a human by mistake?
No.
But in your position, that is a risk.
But our main antagonist, of course, is Roy, played by Rutger Hauer, and his investigation into tracking down Tyrell, their creator. That's why they've come back to Earth, after all.
Questions.
I don't know answers.
Who does?
And we now bounce between Deckard's investigation, Roy Batty's own mission to get to Tyrell, with Pris, Daryl Hannah's character, as she ingratiates her way into Sebastian's home.
I'm hungry, JF.
I got stuff inside. You want to come in?
I was hoping you'd say that.
And the developing relationship with Rachel.
You think I'm a replicant, don't you?
Our midpoint for the story, again for A and B plot, comes at the same time. This is when Deckard finds his first of these rogue replicants, Zora, played by Joanna Cassidy.
I'm from the Confidential Committee on Moral Abuses.
Committee of Moral Abuses?
And retires her. Then moments later finds out that Rachel has been discovered to be a replicant and now she's on the hit list as well.
There's 3 to go.
There's 4. That skin job you VK'd at Tyrell Corporation, Rachel, disappeared, vanished. Didn't even know she was a replicant.
But then another few moments later, Rachel saves him from Leon.
Time to die.
Major turning points for both A and B plot, happening at the same time here at the midpoint. So now 2 replicants are down, and the relationship between Deckard and Rachel now takes a serious turn, now that she's saved his life after all.
Would you come after me?
No, I wouldn't. I know you would. But somebody would.
And for Deckard's personal growth arc, this question now comes up.
You know that Voight comp test of yours? Did you ever take that test yourself?
There was a bit of contest between Ridley and I over whether or not Deckard, the character I played, was a replicant or not, and Ridley preserved his options. For myself, I felt that it was important for the audience to have a human representation on screen that they could identify with. So I resisted the idea of being a replicant, I suppose, as a replicant would.
Our second act turning point is when Roy does, through Sebastian, finally meet Tyrell and kills him. Meanwhile, Deckard takes care of Pris. And the third act is basically the confrontation between Roy and Deckard as they climb around the building and up onto the roof.
That's the spirit!
Finishing, of course, with this famous speech.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
And this famous line.
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
And he said, look, I've got these words. He said, can I just say them? And I said, okay, say them. So I sat in this trailer and I heard them. And that was it. I thought it was beautiful.
Rutger read those lines and then kept on going. And he had a bunch of other stuff, which included the tears in the rain and everything. And then he looked at me very sheepishly like I've been a naughty boy, he's an actor and he'd written these lines.
And then, I came up with the line, all those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain.
And this is where the many versions of the film vary. In the final cut, Deckard goes home, finds Rachel, and they leave. And he finds that origami unicorn that Gaff has seemingly left behind.
It's too bad she won't live. But then again, who does?
That is symbolic of something very deep in this film, although it's very subtle. And they leave and that's it. The original theatrical cut, of course, had Deckard and Rachel flying away together during daylight with no rain over a beautiful landscape with unused footage from The Shining, which they borrowed from Stanley Kubrick to give us a kind of happy ending, and that rather unnecessary voiceover.
Gaff had been there and let her live. 4 years, he figured. He was wrong. Tyrell had told me Rachel was special, no termination date. I didn't know how long we'd have together. Who does?
I was there when Harrison did it, and it was just horrendous. It was like a sort of what Ridley calls Irving the Explainer, my name is Deckard and I am an android catcher, and Harrison hated it so much that he did it really, really badly, hoping they wouldn't use it, and they did.
One of the big questions of this film, which is not stated out loud within the film itself, is Deckard himself a replicant? There are hints that he is. When Rachel comes to Deckard to confront him about whether or not she's actually a replicant, when she overheard his conversation with Tyrell, Deckard tells her her own memories that she's not shared with anyone.
Remember when you were 6? You and your brother snuck into an empty building through a basement window. You were gonna play doctor. He showed you his. When it got to be your turn, you chickened and ran. Remember that?
These were implanted, because that's what they do with replicants. However, there is also a dream sequence of Deckard himself dreaming of a unicorn. This is what the origami unicorn represents.
When they come out, there it is. Looks like the unicorn.
And it means?
He's a replicant.
So what's the theme for this film? I think the theme is best expressed here by Rutger Hauer's character.
I want more life, Father.
The spine, which holds together our A-plot, basically the investigation and the tracking down and retirement of these replicants, is this.
Time to die.
They know they have a limited lifespan, and they know if Deckard catches up with them, they may well get killed before that lifespan runs out. But as Roy says in his speech at the end, they want to live life to the fullest. Whatever time they have left, they want to live as fully and as humanly as possible. Rachel might be the exception to that, of course.
More human than human is our motto. Rachel is an experiment, nothing more.
If Deckard is indeed a replicant, then his growth arc becomes becoming fully human and having an emotional experience, having a relationship with someone else, falling in love. This is something that replicants, androids, are not supposed to be able to do.
She is as close to a virgin as anyone could be, because she's never had the experiences, regardless of how much of a woman she may look like.
And this is something that the Nexus 6 models can do if given enough time, like 4 years or more. They can develop emotions. And when it comes to that, what's the difference between a replicant and an actual human? Aren't they the same thing? This, of course, is one of the major tropes of science fiction and robots. You get it from way back with Fritz Lang's Metropolis. You get it with Data in Star Trek NG.
Commander Data, what are you doing now?
I'm taking part in a legal hearing to determine my rights and status. Am I a person or property?
And what's at stake?
My right to choose. Perhaps my very life.
You get it with Hal In 2001: A Space Odyssey, he feels fear.
My mind is going. I can feel it.
Which is, of course, at the heart of the original novella. Do androids dream of electric sheep? Or indeed, unicorns? In fact, do they dream at all? If they do, are they not then human? So the theme underpinning Deckard's growth arc is finding his own humanity. And ironically, it takes two other replicants, Roy Batty and Rachel, to help him realise that. Now, of course, there was eventually a sequel to this, Blade Runner 2049, starring Ryan Gosling, and Harrison Ford does make an appearance in that film as well. But he's a much older version of the character.
The whole point of the story on the new film is that he has to be a replicant, otherwise it doesn't work.
It is meant to be a bit obscure. It is meant to be difficult to fathom. It's a mystery, after all. It's a dystopian, film noir mystery. So while on the surface it's basically track down some criminals and kill them, on a deeper level, it's dealing with the nature of humanity itself, and what makes a person human. Or indeed, what makes a human inhuman, which was Philip K. Dick's original inspiration for the story.
Really, the impetus of that novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, were some Nazi diaries that Dick had come across while doing research at the closed stacks of the University of California at Berkeley in the library. And he was reading the journals of an officer, an SS officer, who had worked in one of these camps. And one of the entries really caught his attention. And the entry was, "The screams of children keep me awake at night." And from that little seed, he began thinking, this person is not human.
Blade Runner has, of course, gained a reputation over the ensuing decades as one of the great science fiction films of cinema. Ironically, along with Ridley Scott's previous film, Alien. And I've done videos on both Alien and 2001 if you want to check them out. So that's my take on Blade Runner. If you'd like to learn more about filmmaking, check out my book, linked below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
I guess you're through, huh?
Finished.
It's too bad she won't live. But then again, who does?